McLellan.
Well, given that motion, I'm prepared to second it, and I have some comments as well. I would also like to thank the panel and all those who made representations to the Development Permit Board at our last meeting, and in the many emails and letters and other information we received on this application. I knew that there was a lot of interest in bowling in the community, but I never realized how much there was, especially for the type of facility that this provides, a very well-run facility which has served the community very well over the years, and is 5-pin, which allows people with limited physical means to enjoy the sport. As Mr. Monroe has mentioned, I've been looking at the possibilities of how this sport is incorporated into future projects of the city. And I suspect that, if it is becoming less than viable as commercial recreation in this day and age, considering the land values that exist in the city, perhaps the way we should look at accommodating this is maybe in a basement of a future community center. It would be a lot better than maybe underground parking under community facilities. Instead, why not put some bowling lanes down there? I think that's well worth considering, and certainly there seems to be a lot of support in the community for that type of use. In the case of this particular circumstance, for any commercial recreation to exist, you need to have a willing landlord and a willing tenant. And unfortunately, it seems that mutually agreeable terms have not been decided upon in this particular circumstance. I think if they were able to accommodate a bowling alley in this development, by putting it sort of subsurface as it is now, I would have been very happy to accommodate a request for increased height. I think that would have added to the neighborliness of this particular project, and I would have been very supportive. I am also very skeptical, like a lot of people in the audience, of the need for an additional grocery store in this neighborhood. I have seen them come and go out of this site many times, and actually that's what's driving up the parking requirement. And so if there was less of a parking requirement, it would be actually relatively easy if the circumstances were right between landlord and tenant to accommodate something in here. So I still think, if they wanted to pursue an option like that, I'd be happy to take a look at it. But I think that there's been a lot of water under the bridge with both parties, and I'm not sure that they can actually get there.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Well, if they can, that'd be great. As Mr. Monroe says, we have some limitations upon our authority as a development permit board. We can't compel a use into a building. We are dealt with the hand that's given to us. So we're providing with an application, and then we have to make a ruling on it. And so that's what we're doing today. I think, though, in the issue of neighborliness, which a lot of people in the gallery have picked up on, I agree. It's more than just the relationship to the adjacent property. It's how it fits into the community. I think that's also very important. And in terms of this development, it hasn't been particularly neighborly, so I don't think it's earned any right to additional height. On a site which Mr. Monroe says, it is a bit exaggerated in that sort of physical construct where it is at a ridge on a steeply sloping site. So I will be happy to support the variances that are being talked about in terms of the design. I don't see any reason to give any sort of discretion to the development to accommodate increased height on here, and so I think that would be a fair ruling in terms of the development permit.
Thank you, Mr. McLellan.
Hey, thank you. So then my comments, some of them are similar to what you've heard, and some of them are different. I think at the last meeting and again today, we've heard concerns about, some concerns about height, some concerns about increased density. But most of the comments related to concerns of loss of the bowling alley and the tremendous loss that it would be for the community. And I think many described it as the heart and soul of the neighborhood, and I believe that to be true. I think that it was very helpful that the community came out and talked to us. I don't feel the developer has done a good enough job incorporating the community's wishes into the project. and hence the full gallery today, and a full gallery the last time we discussed this. And I think that's unfortunate. It's not something that we as board members can require. It's certainly something that we as board members take as feedback and take as input into our decisions. Unlike some of the speakers, I'm not overly concerned about some of the height issues or some of the density issues. I'm more concerned about the loss of a valued part of the community. And as other members have said, I certainly would be willing to look at trade-offs in that regard. The specific request that was here before around height, and comments that have been said is it simply hasn't been earned, and that to me is the real test. So I'm happy to support the motion not to allow the additional height. I was hopeful, and I remain hopeful that I'd like to see more discussion between the developer and the community to try to resolve it. I think there's an opportunity for there to be progress made. I can't compel that to be done, and it may even result in a rezoning, which might be a more creative opportunity. And so, anyways, I don't support the additional height. I'm quite disappointed that the community's wishes haven't been better reflected in the design, and I would like to see more discussion go on between the developer and the community.
So I want to summarize what's just happened. The application has been approved, but it has not been approved subject to all of the recommendations that were in the original staff report that you mostly had copies of. Instead, it has been approved with revised conditions, and those are the ones that Mr. Monroe outlined in his talk and that Mr. McLellan and Mr. Dobrovolny supported. And I won't read through them all, but the general gist is it won't be supported as a 5-story building, rather a 4-story building. And there are quite a few other conditions, both on the blue pages of this report and also in Appendix A of the report. What happens next is, although the application has been approved, it is subject to the applicant meeting all of these conditions to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning. And that is what will be happening, presumably, over the next, it's at this point, the ball is in the applicant's court to either meet those conditions or make another decision. So that's where it stands right now. If and when the applicant meets those, brings in some revised drawings and plans that reflect the conditions outlined by the board today, and is ultimately issued a permit for those, the neighbors who have commented will be notified of that in writing by city staff, so you'll know if a permit goes out, or if something else happens, we will continue to keep you updated.